Good morning. Give me just 1 second. I'll swap over microphones. Anticlimactic, I know, but here we go. Oh. All right, can you still hear me? All right. For today's message, I had several different ideas rolling around in my head. And I got to tell you, this wasn't one of them that I had. But I'm going to try this out, and I hope it'll work. So bear with me and ask for your grace. This last Wednesday, we celebrated the homecoming of Eileen Bush. Next Saturday, we celebrate the homecoming to heaven of Cal Cooper. Today, we celebrate graduates in our church family. This last week, my personal family had a scare with Jeannie's shoulder. We didn't know what was going on. But thanks to your prayers and thanks to God, she's okay. That same day, we heard the news about Cal. I went from one moment praying to God, thank you, to take a long walk with my son and my dog, and he going, where are we going, Dad? But he bared with me, and I'm going to ask you to bear with me also. And hopefully this won't be a very long, meandering sermon. Actually, probably be short and simple for you, okay? So, normally when I get up here and I get a chance to speak, I'm jumping around, and I jump on the stage, and I'm making noise. It doesn't seem like the right day to do that. So, it's going to be a little bit different. So, Pete, don't go far. It won't be long. At the risk of talking about food before lunch, and it's time that for many of us, let's try something out. How many of you ever had dark chocolate? I mean, like 100% cocoa. Yeah, I see some faces out there. You see you like it. Has anybody ever got the dark chocolate thinking it was the milk chocolate or the sweetened chocolate? Yeah, I see some faces that tried that too. It's bitter. You got to have a special, it's good for you, but it is bitter. But it is very good for you. Now, put that to aside for just a moment. Can you remember the last time you had pure honey? Now, I'm not talking about honey on toast, butter biscuit, even a warm Hawaiian bun, which is so good. Pure honey, straight from the bottle. A little bit's not bad, but how many could have a whole meal out of it? Now, I know some young folks online will probably be thinking, that sounds pretty good. But has anybody ever tried that? Unless you've had a really, really heavy workout, that's a lot to take in. So, on one hand, you got dark chocolate. Some people like it, but for most, it's a little bit bitter. Small doses works. On the other hand, you got honey. You ever put the two together? Now, I see some have tried it, and I see some smiles. So, I thought today we would try this out. So, for those online, I apologize. I couldn't teleport this to you. I wish I could. But for those in the audience, you've got some chocolates. Now, they're not the pure cocoa chocolates. They're actually sweetened. You can try them out anytime you want to now. But basically, they're dark chocolate that's been sweetened. And the thing is, you take the bitter with the sweet. There's sometimes you get a chocolate that's actually filled with honey, and that's delicious. And if you ever get a chance to get some of that really, really dark chocolate, take some and mix it with some honey. And the first time you do it, feel free. Go ahead and try it out. You got the things here. The first time you get that dark honey, that dark chocolate with the honey, you're not going to get it right. Everybody likes a little bit different mix. Some people like it sweeter. Some people, I'm guessing, Kathy, you might like it plain, huh? Yeah. Yes. I've had 100% cocoa, and it takes me a while, but I can go through it. A little bit of some. But try and mix a little bit of honey with that dark chocolate and see how it changes. So if you get that right, it's delicious. Now, today, I don't have the honey to go with the chocolate, but we got some pre-sweetened ones. You can try it out. You need those at any time now. So if you want to. If you have an issue with sugar, please don't. Don't nobody have an attack before the end of the service. But Okay. So now that everyone's hungry, and we've talked about food for a little bit, take a moment, eat your chocolates, pause, stretch for a moment, and just kind of put the food to the side. Okay? Nobody's stretching. It's hard to do that, isn't it? Come on, I'll start it. All right. Why am I doing this? Because we're going to settle in for a moment. I got chocolate to bribe you to start off with, a little bit of sugar. But let's talk for a moment. And the question you're probably thinking is, what are we talking about this for? And you probably think of that a lot whenever I get up here to speak sometimes. But let's explain. These two foods make a great metaphor. They're actually kind of tasty, and it's kind of light. If you think about it, you get the bitter and you got the sweet. And that's kind of how life is, isn't it? And if you have too much of one, too much of the other, it's not always right. But you put them together, and it's very, very delicious, right? And I want to basically know, I'm not trying to trivialize life. There are some times that life is way bitter than just dark chocolate, okay? But this is a light way to talk about this. So bear with me and give me grace. So, as many of you experienced, our lives are mixes of bitter and sweet, right? For those who have had kids, can you remember back the day that kid was born? How hard was that on that day? I see some smiles. That is one of the most difficult days in your life and one of the most glorious days in your life, isn't it? Now, we're celebrating graduates today. Think about that same child growing up, graduating. All they've accomplished, all they've done, all the work they've put in, getting to that point. It's really awesome, right? But at the same time, they may be leaving home. They may be going off to college, going off to work. There's that little bit of bitter that goes with it. Now, think of that loved one who led a full and beautiful life passing away, and how much you miss them immensely. But it's also kind of heartening to know that they're going to God, right? It's a mixture. If you think back over your life, you may realize some of your most memorable moments, the deepest moments, are a mixture both bitter and sweet. That contrast can make these moments incredibly powerful. Think back, really no more than 5 minutes to this service today. And what do? The Lord's Supper. The Lord's Supper is a memory of, it's a capstone moment in human history. But it's also one of the bitterest and one of the most joyful too. All the pain, all the trials, all the suffering that Jesus went through for us is very bitter. But on the other hand, think of how joyful it is to have that gift of salvation, that freedom from death, that triumph over it. And that one moment, every week, we remember such a bittersweet moment. But it's profound, isn't it? Those two together make a very, very profound moment. If you take just the pain, the suffering, it's dramatic. But if you forget about the resurrection, the climax, the triumph, those two together make that such a profound moment. Does that make sense? All right. Now, knowing that both sides impart power and impact events, knowing that there's bitter, there's sweet, there's mixed in our lives, what do? How do we handle them? And for those sweet times, that's pretty easy, right? Things are good. I don't think anybody has trouble knowing how to handle those. Let's talk about the bitter times. Let's talk about those times when you need to know how to move the needle a bit away from the bitter, more toward the sweet. Now, before we dive in, let's note some wisdom found in Proverbs. If you would turn to me, Proverbs 14, 10 and 13. Proverbs 14, 10 and 13. I got them up here, but I recommend it helps you stay awake if you look them up yourself too. Proverbs 14, 10 and 13. So, verse 10 it says, The heart knows its own bitterness, and a stranger does not share its joy. Skipping down to verse 13. Even in laughter, the heart may sorrow, and the end of mirth may be grief. So what does that mean? You never know how the other person's feeling, right? You can't feel somebody's joy. You can't feel somebody's pain. And everybody's going to experience it different. Everybody's got different tolerances. Everybody's got different tastes. And everybody's got different ringtones too. Everyone's going to see that same situation different ways. We don't know exactly how they're going to be seeing it. We don't know how they feel, and we don't know how it's going to end up. And that's one of the reasons I mentioned about try and experiment. Because if you're going to bring somebody some honey, you may not know what to do at first. You may have to figure it out. But if we're going to help somebody out in that situation, bring some sweetness to life, we got to try, right? It's got to be an experiment. You may not get the mixture just right at first, but as long as you try, sometimes that matters. Now, we're using honey as a metaphor for the sweet times of life. We always need to remember that it simply doesn't always happen to us. It's not just the events. We add to and take away from those events that occur. And when possible, try to bring some honey to the lives of others. Pete sang the song Beautiful Life. It does make a beautiful life when you do that, right? Try to add their lives. Make those bitter times a little less bitter. In bitter times, this is a wonderful Christian family. I love being here with you all. Our first instinct when somebody's going through pain is to hug them, right? Help them. Be there for them. And that's awesome. But as we do so, always got to remember to check on the other party. Sometimes that other party may need space. Sometimes they may need time just to think it out and process it. Sometimes we hurt because we see what's going on and we want to relieve ourselves, but always remember that other party may need something different. And keep them in mind. They're really the one that we're trying to look out for, right? So, sometimes you may not know what to do, and that's okay. Sometimes it's thought that counts. Let's try an experiment and think through a scenario. Imagine someone who needs help and is going through a bitter time in their life. This is a paper cut drawing, but it's a scenario we can relate to, right? I bet you've seen somebody like this recently, or at least not too long. I hear some calls, they probably saw some today. This is just one example of someone in need we see quite often. Now, for a moment, think about these persons, these souls. How do we add sweetness to their experiences? And probably the first question comes to mind is, can we add sweetness to their experience? What do we have to offer? If we don't know them, or we're not in that area, do we act? Do we do anything? Let's turn to our instruction manual and find out. These are a bunch of verses. Proverbs 29:7. The righteous considers the cause of the poor, but the wicked does not understand such knowledge. Skipping back just a few chapters to Proverbs 21:13. 13 says, whoever shuts his ears to the cry of the poor will also cry himself and not be heard. And let's skip over a little bit to Isaiah 1. Isaiah 1:16-17 says, wash yourselves, make yourselves clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before my eyes. Cease to do evil. Learn to do good. Seek justice. Rebuke the oppressor. Defend the fatherless. Plead for the widow. We've got just a couple more. Turn over to the New Testament, and we'll go to James. While you're turning over there, if anybody heard me speak, you know I quote a lot from James. It's one of my favorite books. James 4:17. Therefore, to him who knows to do good and does not do it, To him it is a sin. And then 1 John 3:17 and 18. Well, whoever has this world's goods and sees his brother in need and shuts up his heart from him, how does the love of God abide in him? My little children, let us not love in word or in tongue, but in deed and in truth. So it seems clear we've got to do something. We got to act. We can't simply turn away. And so, okay, if we're trying to bring some sweetness to bitterness, then how, right? What do we do? That's the key question. All right, you ready for the big reveal? There's no one way. There's not a single way to bring sweetness to someone's life. Each person has their own form of sweetness, their own form of honey that they can contribute. Each person will have their own ways they can help. Some can help from afar. Some can help contribute funds. Some can physically take action. We all got different things we can do. So the reason God built this beautiful family, because we all got different things we can bring to it. There is a clear need to bring some of God's love to these situations we find, to people's lives we can encounter. And there's no one way to do so. And if you think about it, that's also kind of bittersweet too, isn't it? There's so many options. What do you do? You ever had something like a big problem you got to fix? Now imagine, for those who know hardware, imagine you don't. But imagine you got like a heater. You might picture a heater in their house or someplace, some complex machine. And you get plopped down in a hardware store, and there's thousands of tools. What do you choose? How do you pick? What do you do? Now, if there's a few choices, it's easy, right? You can pick one or two, try it out, and if you mess up, you ask forgiveness and you go back and try again. You do it in earnest, right? But if you got thousands, you got to consider. You got to choose and analyze. Which one do I choose? Which one do I start with? And if you do it wrong, those heaters can blow up, can't they? And that's not good. So sometimes you got to ask for help, and you got to know when to ask for help. Now, in the situation of the heater, you may ask a friend or you may ask an expert. In our lives, we talk to our brothers and sisters. We talk to God. We pray about it, right? As long as we try, as long as we rely on God, as long as we do something, God's going to guide us a way to be able to act, to be able to help. He never fails. He never lets us down. We may have to try and learn something, but He's going to give us success. He'll steer us down the right path. When people around us, especially our loved ones in the family of God, are going through bitter times, pray. Talk to your brothers and sisters, and then act. Let our family know that they're loved and that we care. And I'm telling this to an audience I don't really have to tell that to, because I know you do. And I love you all for that. Thank you. Wrap them up in God's love, even if that means giving them some space, because you never know what they need. And this is our verse from earlier today, Galatians 6:6-10. And it adds a little bit more to it. Galatians 6:6-10. Let him who is taught the word share in all good things, and him who teaches. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, then he will also reap. For he who sows to his flesh will also reap to the flesh corruption. He who sows the Spirit will of the Spirit reap everlasting life. And let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all, especially those who are of the household of faith. And notice that. Let us not grow weary of doing good. Sometimes it's going to feel like a mountain of stuff coming at you, right? I know Brother Derek can relate to this. Sometimes it's too much. But God will get us through. We will make it through. So, let's change pace for a second and focus on that. Let us do good to all. Well, let's do a challenge here. How many of you have been online or on the streets and met somebody who likes rage bait? You know what I mean by that? Basically a headline, an article, a tweet, a message that basically just meant to get people angry. get people riled up. Y'all know, you ever met somebody like that? They roam our streets. They roam the virtual streets of the social media, right? Why does rage bait work? Because those people that are doing it are hurting. That article, social media post, likely has nothing to do with what they're actually hurting about. It's just an outlet for their pain. Those hurt and angry people walking around, they troll others, they bully others. They're actually trying to escape their own pain, their own hurt. When we meet those folks, though, what do we want to do? We want to rage back, right? How often does that turn out good? Maybe 2 seconds, but after that, they're just going to rage more. It builds. It's a cycle. It's a bad feedback loop. Next time you encounter somebody like that, recognize them for who they are and what's going on. Try this. Make sure no one's getting hurt. It's not physical. And then once there's safety, try pity. Have pity on the person. Because no matter how bad they make you angry and how stupid what they said was, they're coming from a place of pain. And if you can recognize that, you can actually keep calm enough, long enough to talk to them and ask questions. You might actually disarm them. You might actually get them to the point where they may actually start questioning what they're doing. Now, some of them are just going to flame on, and they're just going to keep going. But you can diffuse the situation a little bit. And maybe next time they'll think, hey, there's something there to what that person said, right? Proverbs 51, soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Now, here's the trick to that. How hard is it to answer that soft word? I see some smiles. It is, isn't it? It takes some strength. It takes some willpower. It takes some confidence in yourself to do that. This is not for the faint of heart. But like other than those bitter times, try to bring sweetness to that situation if you can. Now, got the slides a little mixed up. Turn to 2 Peter 3:9. Sometimes that sweetness you can bring to life is simply patience. 2 Peter 3:9. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some count slackness, but is long-suffering toward us, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. Now think about that. In this world, we just talked about some crazy people. How often do humans try God's patience? If you were God, how angry would you be at some of the stupid things that people do? Right? How long does he suffer with us? How long does he be patient with us? How long has he been patient with our own lives? And basically saying, I want you to come back to me. I'm going to give you time. Figure this out. Sometimes patience can be that sweetness you can bring. So, at the very least, when you run that troll, try having a little patience, have a little bit of pity. Now, switching gears from the people we encounter online, let's look a little closer home. In the lives you've led, has anybody ever been a part of a church that split? I see some head nods. If you live long enough, you encounter it. At least if you hadn't been a part of it, you can see it. Now, why does that happen? In God's family, when you're supposed to love each other and be a family, how do people let things get that bad? Right now, have y'all been following statistics of how many churches have split over politics? It's insane, right? We're supposed to be loyal to God and God's love, not what's going on in this world. We should always remember to share the sweetness of God's love with each other before we ever get to the point of anger with each other, right? Especially among family. And again, I'm talking to as they say, we don't have a choir, but preaching to the choir. I know you all do this. So, how about I close up? Brother Pete, remember I said don't go far? You're in the back. Brother Pete, can you hear me? All right. Jesse, if you don't mind, tap Brother Pete. We've got 5 minutes left. Life is made up of bitter and sweet moments and events. Both together, they make life beautiful and rich. When we meet persons going through those bitter times, don't look away. I know it's easy to. Try to be the one who shares God's love with them. Try to be the one who brings a little sweetness to their life. And that takes some strength to do that. Be the one who brings the honey. And for those who knew Cal was like this, wasn't he? Ruby shared a story with us about when he was in the hospital with pneumonia. He's in there with pneumonia. He should be the one receiving the honey. He's making jokes with the doctors and the nurses and the staff. He was incredibly strong, had incredible character. That's who we should be like. For the graduates that we celebrate today, whatever you find to do in life, remember to help others. Brighten some others' day along the way. Lighten their load when you can. It'll make both your lives and their lives so much better. And to bring things back to the metaphor of chocolate and honey, turn to Psalms 19. When things are darkest and you don't know where to turn, we need some honey to help us keep going. There's one place we always can rely on to turn to. Psalm 19:7, verse 11. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. The statutes of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes. The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold. Sweeter also than honey and the honeycomb. Moreover, by them your servant is warned, and in keeping them there is great reward. God has an infinite amount of love to share. Now, like the little bits of chocolate I gave you today, let's do a little bit of taste of what some of that honey is from God. Turn to Psalm 139, if you would. Psalm 139, 17 and 18. And this is God speaking to all of us. Well, somebody's speaking about how God thinks of us. Verse 17 of Psalm 139. How precious also are your thoughts to me, O God. How great is the sum of them. If I should count them, they would be more in number than the sand. And when I wake, I am still with you. Our infinite God loves you. You're here today with others all around you who love you also. It's a wonderful part of being part of God's family, isn't it? That's it. Very simple, very short message. If you'd like to commit your life to God, you want to dedicate your life to sharing some of that sweetness of God, God's sweetness with others, some of His love with others. Today's as good a day as any, isn't it? We've got water. We've got people here. If you want to be baptized, if you have anything to share with the congregation or anything you want to bring, please come forward as I stand and sing the invitation song. Thank you.